It started out, my mom had purchased two 45s, but I was not a fan per se. I liked him, I loved him, I watched him on, the Ed Sullivan Show, and enjoyed him, saw his movies, but it wasn't until about 1972 or so that I was driving north on Laurel Canyon Boulevard, and I saw this beautiful, beautiful black stud Sparrowhawk coming at me, and it was one of the most beautiful cars I'd ever seen. But in Hollywood, in LA, you see everything. So I remember that I looked at my girlfriend, Carol, who was in the car with me. I said, Carol, that is the most beautiful car. So we waited for the car to come past, and as it crossed, I looked over to see who was driving, and I immediately recognized that it was Elvis because he had his famous sunglasses on, his sideburns, his hair, his high collar. I couldn't tell you what he was wearing, but you knew that it was Elvis. And it was such an incredible energy that as I was driving, this energy just absolutely hit me upside the head, like somebody had hit me. And I pulled my Jeep over, and I had to stop the car because I couldn't drive. And my girlfriend said, "What's the matter?" And I said, "Well, that was Elvis Presley." And she said, "Yeah?" I said, "No, but you don't understand." I said, "I just got a very heavy premonition." And I have had premonitions since I was a little girl. And I said, I got a very heavy premonition, and not only am I going to meet this man, but I'm going to know him, and I'm going to know him well. And I couldn't explain it. Like many premonitions, you can't explain, but you feel it. You feel a vibration in your body. A couple of years went by. I had been living in Rome, Italy, and I was modeling and acting. And I decided that I wanted to stay. So I decided to come back to Los Angeles, close up my apartment, sell my car, get the rest of my clothes, and move to Italy permanently. And the week that I was home, I went out to a private dance club in Beverly Hills, and there was a friend of mine named Ron Smith, and he had a look-alike agency, and he hired people that looked like the Queen, and they would do butter commercials, and I'm the Queen, and Burt Reynolds that look alike, and all these people. So he said, "Mindy, I haven't seen you in forever." I said, "Yeah, I've been living in Europe." Well, I had been going back and forth, and so I'd been there this time about a year. And he said, "Well, I'd love to invite you to a party." And I said, "Well, what kind of party is it?" He said, "Well, it's a really nice Hollywood party." And I thought, I really don't want to go. I'm really not interested. And I told him, I was very honest. I said, "I don't really care." And he said, "Let me call you in a couple of days." I said, "That's fine." He goes, "Maybe you'll change your mind." Calls back the next day, and the next day. I said, "Ron, what is so special about this party?" He said, "Well, it's going to be at Elvis Presley's house." Now, in Hollywood and Beverly Hills and Holmby Hills, major stars rent out their house for parties, for gatherings, for political gatherings. So I thought, well, maybe he just rented the house. I never expected him to be there. But all of a sudden, the light bulb went on above my head. And I thought, wait a second. Remember that premonition you had a couple of years ago? Maybe you should just go, and it might be fun. It'll be his house. So I drove up there. I was about an hour late because I thought, it's a party. Nobody's ever on time for a party in Hollywood. So I get there about an hour late. I pull up to 144 Monteville, which was the last house he owned. And years later, Michael Jackson bought the house directly across from Elvis, which is where he passed away. And I knocked on the door, and I didn't see any cars. So I thought, well, maybe the valets have taken the cars into the back of the house. And I didn't see anything. So I knock on the door, and somebody answers, and they said, "Oh, well, you must be Mindy." And I'm looking around going, how would they know who I am? It's a party. So he said, "Oh, you're Mindy, come on in." I didn't know which Memphis Mafia guy this was, and I didn't know it was a Memphis Mafia guy. So I come in and I look around the house looking for a party. I don't see any people. I don't hear any music. he leads me into this huge room, which is the den, and there were all these guys sitting around the room. And I remember that they had the TV on, and Farrah Fawcett was on doing a Wella Balsam commercial, flipping her hair, you know. And I thought, oh, she's so pretty. He goes, why don't you have a seat? And I said, okay. Still, I had no idea what's going on. 24, but I've been in the film industry since I was 12 years old, doing all kinds of things. So I was pretty together for that age. And that was the time in 1975. It was either March 12th or 13th. It was the last day that he ever recorded at RCA Studios. And after the guys were asking me all these questions, are you religious? How old are you? What do you do? Do you have family? Where do you go to school? Have you traveled? Do you like books? Are you religious? Are you at all spiritual? And they're firing at me, and I just thought, I'm just answering them, not thinking anything, still not knowing anything, being very calm, cool, and collected. All of a sudden, two of the guys walk out. Later found out that they went up to get Elvis and said, we like her, she's okay. It was like she passed the test. All of a sudden, and I'm just watching TV and just like this, I feel this energy, this unbelievable kinetic, vibratory energy. It was the same energy that I had when our paths crossed in the cars, and it felt like somebody just hit me upside the head. And again, you could feel the vibrations of the room just raise up. And I literally looked over, and there was Elvis standing in the doorway. And then he was wearing the same outfit that he wore on his last vacation in Hawaii, with his little white cap and his, you know, not his jumpsuit, but his relaxing suit. And he was standing there, and I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he went, honey, sorry I'm late, but so are you. Now, I could have taken this any 2 or 3 ways. I could have thought, well, how rude. Who does he think he is? But that's not me. I chose to look at it as very positive, and I got that it was his sense of humor. I picked up on him immediately. So we were like this, like this, like this. And I burst out laughing, and he got me because he knew that I got him, and he started laughing, and then all the guys broke up, laughing hysterically, and it broke the ice, and Elvis looked over at the guys and winked. He looked over at me and winked. Then he started to come out of the doorway. He walked around the coffee table where I was sitting, and they had me sitting kind of at the edge, and he leaned over to me as if, you know, I didn't know who he was, and he put out his right hand and he said, hi honey, I'm Elvis. And I looked up at him like this, and I put out my right arm. I said, hi, I'm Mindy. He said, may I sit down? I said, of course. I scooted over. We never stopped talking. I was there till 7 a.m. the next morning, and that's how it started.
That's awesome, man. That's a really good story there.